Good morning and welcome to Fountain Street Church. My name is Christopher Rowe and I'm the acting minister here at the church, and on behalf of our spread out but ever connected community, welcome to worship this morning. As many of you know, we are in the middle of our journey through the spring pulpit series that invites diverse perspectives and voices and insights into our virtual pulpit. And so this morning is no different as we welcome the Reverend Dr. Elias Ortega into our virtual pulpit. I may have misspoken. He may not be a reverend, but he is certainly a doctor, and he is the president of Meadville Lombard Seminary, where our senior minister-elect, Marilyn, went to seminary. What a joyful connection to have this morning, and what a joy it is to have all of you with us this morning as we seek the divine that is among and amidst and inside all of us. As we prepare our hearts for worship this morning, and as we prepare for that common endeavor where we free the mind, we grow the soul, and we change the world, hear these words that are our invitation to worship this morning. They actually come from All Saints Sunday, which I shared with you a few years ago, but they fell apropos to our theme of the Memorial Day holiday. Spirit that even time cannot contain, on this Sunday of remembering, we remember, O God, the countless saints throughout history who have blazed a trail of courage throughout time. We remember, O Spirit, the tender touch of loved ones, the example of heroes, the healing words of comforters, and the remarkable acts of fearless ones. We remember, O God, the gentle love of grandmothers, the loyalty of friends, the kindness of strangers, the joy of children, and the sacrifice of parents. Today we remember, O God, all who have devoted their lives to peace and to justice, and all who have devoted their lives committing their journeys to creating a better world for all. All who are young and old, dead and living, articulate and silent, strange and familiar, brilliant and ordinary, we remember. We remember in every time, in every place, the saints on the earth who have shown us glimpses of the divine, signs of the holy, and insight into ultimate truth. So we relish in this moment, surrounded by these memories. And as we do so, let us worship together in joy and undying gratitude for all those among us, both in our hearts and in our presence. My friends, this is Fountain Street Church. I'm so glad you are here. Thank you for being with us this morning.
This reading is from Breathe, A Letter to My Sons by Imani Perry. You are so young, and yet you have lost so many people you love. Some so early you can only remember them from the times I have repeated their stories, the moments they shared with you. I have given you the taste of re-memory, its sweetness like a private showing of history. And you have learned of so many dead children. I have worried about it, but I can pretend your tears shouldn't be flowing. They should. And you will learn not only to grieve, but also to chat with death. Tending to graves, seeding hope. Good morning, Fountain Street Church. Whatever you are this morning, I wish to send you a greeting from the larger Midville-Lombard Theological School community. It is my distinct pleasure to share with you these words as we gather in worship from remote locations. I pray for the safety and well-being of you and your loved ones. I also pray that you be strengthened spiritually as we grieve the end of the world as we have come to know, and that you engage what tomorrow may bring with a vibrant imagination and commitment to make a new future possible. This coming Monday, our nation holds a day of remembrance for those who have lost their lives in military service for the country. Memorial Day is a day to bring to mind those who have felt a call to put their lives on the line in service for the country and have perished. They have departed this side of the living, but still present in the memories of those who love them and in our national memory. It should not escape our attention that this year's celebration will have a different tone. Faced with a global health pandemic that calls us to adopt safety measures for our sake and the sake of others, limits the ways in which we can safely gather publicly as well as in private. These measures are essential for our mutual survival. Our lives have been disrupted in ways we would not have imagined just 3 or 4 months ago. And what lay ahead is shrouded in deep mystery. Rituals and ceremonies play a role in fashioning us into a people, a community. Rituals equip us with shared meaning-making, embodied language to make sense of our lives within a larger whole. And in the moments we are living, our rituals have been disrupted. In particular, those rituals that help us gain comfort from others and offer comfort in return as we face the death of a loved one or gather to remember them. These have been displaced, put on hold, or constrained to a small circle of care. How do we make sense of tending to graves in our present reality? How do we gain the fortitude of seeding hope for tomorrow? There is holy work to be done, work that will strengthen us to walk through the threshold of despair when the light of hope seems to be dimming. Sometimes the world has a way of surprising us, and recently I have been reflecting on words that I shared with the Midville-Lombard community during our fall in-gathering. With them, I shared a sermon that was titled Ministry at the End of the World. Or what future is this? As we prepared for that service, the planning committee agreed on addressing the possibility of the world coming to an end due to the ravages of climate change. The task for us was to inspire our learning community to be active participants in the life-saving work of ministry, even when faced with the real possibility of the world coming to an end. In my sermon, I charge our community to get ready to do three things if it came to the time that their ministry and faith work happened at a time when it is apparent that the world as we know it may come to an end. These three things were: prepare for the end, keep hope, and make ready to help others find their way. And today, I will share words with you on the theme, tending to grave, seeding hope. In light of our current moment, tending to graves gain a new sense of urgency. The newness comes as a result of our days being disrupted from the routine normalcy. Our movement is constrained. We face employment insecurity. We may not be able to touch those we love who are not in our household. We may not be able to gather to mourn our dead. The urgency comes from the reality that at stake at this moment is the ways in which we co-create a community that help us thrive into a future with contours yet unknown. So today, I wish to live with you three things: tend to the graves, gathering hope, and seed for the future. Jeffrey, Lee, and Dan Davison asked a question that motivates much of my thinking around how to tend to grave this morning. They ask, how does the church get its dry bones put back together and fleshed and filled with the breath of God in everyday life? A few years ago, I lost a beloved colleague and friend, Dr. Otto Maduro. My working days were often punctuated by his sonorous voice and contagious laughter. Our offices were next to each other, and we will often take breaks to share a cup of coffee and talk with each other and update of our work. My children loved Otto. They will often come by our offices to leave drawings for him and tell him stories about their days. And then, one day we gathered in prayer as he shared the news of the return of his illness. He knew that he was not going to survive this time and chose to live his remaining days sharing in love and laughter. When he died in 2013, we were gathered in mourning and planted a tree on his honor. A few months after Otto's passing, I answered an after-hours call from a chaplain friend. I thought it odd that she was calling at the hour that she did, and honored still that she wanted to come and stop for a visit. She came to deliver the news. Jim Bircher, my neighbor and beloved friend, had passed suddenly. For a spell, I refused to believe it. I had just spoken with him a few hours ago. We have spent some time working in the community garden he kept, and have made plans for summer work during the weekend. Jim could not have possibly died. As a family, we decided that our best way to honor Jim was to tend to the community garden that he tended to. That garden has nourished our bodies and gifted us with the beauty of flowers. Now, we return the love by caring for it. The passing of Otto and Jim left deep holes in our lives, and yet they also taught us that tending to graves take many forms. Graves are not only marked by tombstones or delimited by cemetery plots. Graves are holy spaces where we gather in spirit with those who came before us. It may be a site where a tree was planted, or maybe a living garden cared for by our dearly departed, now in our care. Tending to graves is really not only an act of memory or a ritual remembrance. It is an act of love. How do we connect the stories of the past to our own stories? You see, stories are life-giving. Stories are also dangerous things. These two statements are true. Stories put in a nutshell events that have shaped our lives. They are stories that help us recall wild adventures that in retrospect have us celebrating that we made it out alive. A few of my cousins and I still laugh and cringe when we remember when we tried to make a bungee jump from the back mango tree. We made it bruised but alive. We also carry stories with us of others we have not met while they were alive. Stories that inspire us to be better persons, to be more resilient in the face of hardship, to take pride on those whom we call ancestors. These are also stories of hurt that, if not dealt with, remain open and can fester. These may be stories that take us to a place of pain, a place of suffering where we rather not revisit. They contain memory we'd rather leave alone. Herman Anderson and Edward Foley, in Mighty Stories, Dangerous Rituals, weaving together the human and the divine, say the following: memories are the place of consolation. It is where we can get stuck in our grief when we resist recalling the whole story. In order to find healing in our grieving, we need to remember the wound hurts the most. We need to remember where the wound hurts the most. Stories of pains and hurt are stories that need to be faced, because otherwise their result will determine our lives. It is often the case that these stories are tied to those in graves we have not tended to because it was too painful. But our lack of tending to them has also prevented our healing. It has prevented us from healing from their wounds. Perhaps, in order to close up chapters, to turn a new leaf, we need to tend to those graves one last time, a last time to say our goodbyes, and may you rest in peace. To declare that our stories are not shackled to them, and they're not shackled to them for the sake of the future. It will feel like a breath of fresh air. Yes, we will grieve. Yes, it will be hard. But the inbreaking of new life comes at the cost of the breaking of a seed. We need to seed hope. We need to engage in seeding hope. Heather Elkins, in Evidence of Things Not Seen, says the following: what do we do while we are waiting for what we hope to see? We plant trees. How do we seed hope? You see, seeding hope is a radical investment in a future we may not see, but that will ensure the thriving of others. These are others that will connect to our life stories and remember us in return. In seeding hope, we are tending to the garden of things yet to come. Those of us who have taken care of gardens know that they are hard work. The initial expectations of bounty are easily dispelled by the task of tilling new ground. Breaking and turning a field that has laid dormant test our determination. As you work with your tools and turn the ground, you may hit rocks and roots. You may even find debris from years past. Your hands may blister, and your arms and back may ache. But after the toils are done, if you persisted, and if you wait patiently, the earth will give to you with plenty and with beauty. From this gift of plenty and beauty, we can regain our strength to story a new generation yet to come. In the middle of our garden, with our feet rooted in the soil, we can speak a word of new things yet to come. This, beloved, is the act of seeding hope. I wish to leave you with these last words as we prepare to tend to our graves and seed hope. It is when we are faced with uncertainty that hope should prevail. Not a hope of false dreams or of easy comforts. Not a hope that keeps us chained to passivity, but a hope that empowers our journey. Hope is what moves us to action, even if we do not know what the outcome will be. We must act in the face of uncertainty, because in doing so we can help shape the outcome. Hope pushes us to look intently to the cracks in the world and see glimpses of a world that might be, even if it's not guaranteed. Dear beloved, let us tend to our graves. Let us remember the stories of those who have come before us. Let us also heal from stories that have wounded us, so that we can prepare to share new stories with a new generation, so that we can story a new generation forward into the future. Let us also plant the seeds of hope. Hope for things that are yet to come, that we may not live to see, but that another generation will be nourished by, and in turn will nourish their children, and their children's children will also be nourished, and someday remember our work. May it be so, and blessed be.
My friends, week after week, you and I and our congregation tangibly put our vision for a better world into action through the collection of our gifts. We put our money where our mouth is as we take our resources and put them back into the community, but not just back into the community, but back into our story. For 150 years, those before us have brought their gifts together, and for 150 years after you and I, they will look back at the ways that we wanted to transform our church and transform our world through the collection of our shared resources. 50% of the plate goes directly back into direct missions, but 50% of it stays inside the walls of our church so that the operations can continue, so that the beautiful worship that inspires us into action may go on, and so that we can each sustainably approach the issues of our time with justice and equity through the gifts that you all provide and make things possible. And so with the spirit of that in mind, and with the spirit of leaving a legacy beyond our own lives, the offering will now be taken.
Hello, fellow Fountain Streeters. My name is Chip Wall, and I am the chair of the governing board at this point in time. And I just wanted to say a couple things. I want to give you some updates on things that are going on. We all know that we're living in some really strange times at this point in our history. One of which is this is my office, but it's also my recording studio. And as many of our lives have been turned upside down, I also just want to take a moment to say thank you. Thank you to everyone. I know that I personally have received phone calls from other Fountain Streeters who've called just to check in and make sure everyone's doing good. And that's what we are as a community of faith, is people helping each other, whether you're picking up groceries for someone or just calling in to make sure they're doing okay. I just wanted to let you know that all of the things that you're doing for outreach are greatly appreciated. I also want to give you an update as to what we're doing for the governing board and also the officers committee. Now, as most of you have been aware, you've been getting the emails and updates. The Senior Minister Search Committee is nearing the end of their task, or charge of work, if you will, which was to bring us the most qualified senior minister candidate to help lead Fountain Street for the next 150 years. Not that they'll be there for 150 years, but that we are also looking for new leadership in the next 150. Your Senior Minister Search Committee has brought forth for a vote to us as a congregation, the Reverend Mariela Perez Simmons. And the officers have decided that with the COVID pandemic that was going on, that it was the wisest decision to mitigate anyone's risk factors, to do all of our balloting to be absentee ballots. So the ballots have been sent out, and this is just a friendly reminder, if you haven't sent your ballot back in, to sign your ballot, submit it, and send it back to church. We're looking for Saturday, the 30th of May, that we will be doing the official counting of the ballots. We'll be doing that physically at Fountain Street Church, and of course, we'll be doing all of our social distancing of keeping 6 feet apart and wearing masks and protective gear, so everyone will be safe. The results of that election will be shared after Mariela's sermon on the 31st, and we will give you the results of that ballot at that point in time. Now, we've been getting a lot of questions lately, and I just wanted to address some of these questions that we've been getting and answer them for you. Lots of questions about, are we going to start in person? When are we going to start in person? When is the choir starting? And all these types of things. And I can tell you at this point in time that we are working diligently at making the best, most sensible, informed choices that we can. And our number one goal is to protect everyone's health. The health of those of you in the congregation, our employees, janitorial staff, whoever it may be that would come in contact, and our families that we come in contact with. These are difficult times for sure. This is my office, this is my recording studio, and we're all doing things a little bit different, but we are committed to making some smart choices based on the best information from health professionals using not only local, but state and federal guidelines as well. Rest assured that we do not want to race to be the first people back and put anyone's health at risk. We want to make this health of our congregants the number one top priority. With that said, I'm pleased to announce that we're starting a COVID-19 task force. COVID-19 task force, which will help to guide us in our progression back to in-person services. This is going to include a group of folks who are in public health and physicians, clergy, and staff to make sure that we have safeguarded everyone's health. And this team is currently being formed right now, and they're going to be setting up a plan to keep us updated on the best practices. So as they say, stay tuned, more information will follow. Now, I encourage you to check out also our website, which has been recently refreshed. There have been some important changes, and it's a little more user-friendly, so be sure to check it out. You're going to get lots of information, updated information, following all of the health guidelines. Also, I wanted to let you know that your church staff may not physically be in the building, but they're hard at work, and they're doing all kinds of work behind the scenes to make sure that our services that we provide for us as members is still being provided. And on behalf of the board, I want to thank them for all the work that they're doing and keeping up the good work. Be sure to check that website out also for our online secret goods and services auction 2020. And I'm confident that if you take a look at this is just kind of a fun way to stay connected with Fountain Streeters. And it may add a little bit of fun to your day to get in the bidding war and some of the services and goods that are being offered on that website. So check that out. So in closing, I just wanted to say thank you. Thanks to those of you that are sending your funds in to help us to support Fountain Street and the work that we're doing here. Thanks to those of you that are connecting with one another and making sure that everyone is being checked in on and making sure that we're getting groceries to those that you know may need a hand. Keep in mind, no matter what service you attend, whether it's the early service or the late service, as I like to call them, we are all one. We are all Fountain Streeters. So Just a reminder, keep that social distancing going. Be sure to wash your hands, stay healthy, but most importantly, stay you as a Fountain Streeter. We're going to get through this pandemic. I know we will. And I look forward to the day when we will be seated side by side at Fountain Street in worship together. Until then, stay safe, and thank you so much. Have a great day.
Epitaph by Merritt Malloy. When I die, give what's left of me away to children and old me that wait to die. And if you need to cry, cry for your brother walking the street beside you. And when you need me, put your arms around anyone and give them what you need to give to me. I want to leave you something better than words or sounds. Look for me in the people I've known or loved. And if you cannot give me away, at least let me live in your eyes and not your mind. You can love me most by letting hands touch hands, letting bodies touch bodies. You can love me most by letting hands touch hands, bodies touch bodies, and letting go of children that need to be free. Love doesn't die. People do. So when all that's left of me is love, give me away. Will you pray with me? Spirit of memory, Spirit of ancestry, Spirit of legacy, thank you for the gift of love and limitless touch. This morning, as we think about remembrance and honoring the past and looking to the future, ignite in all of us a passion for those who have left something upon our hearts that needs to be set free, and for our actions to impress upon new hearts a new legacy that needs to be set free. In the silence, let our prayers, unsaid, be lifted up to the great cloud of witnesses among us. May we find peace and solace and hope in those prayers unspoken. All these things we bring to our heart, to our core, to our center. Amen. for joining us for worship this morning. Thank you to Dr. Ortega for his inspiring and uplifting words. Thank you to Danny Heck, who helps make these services possible. And thank you to Virginia Anzengruber, who keeps us connected in this digital age. And most importantly, thank you to the congregation that shows up week after week, even in times of uncertainty and having to stretch ourselves. You, the people of Fountain Street Church, continue to amaze me by showing up, by being present, by making yourselves learn new things so that you can still be engaged as the community that we strive to be. Thank you. As you go forth in your week, be empowered to love yourselves and to love your neighbor. Exercise resilience and find the inner power within each of you so that until we see each other again, you stay safe, you stay healthy, you remain resilient, my friends. I miss you all.